All right, welcome back to the podcast, the Coach Steve Show. We have our remote co-host, Brad Miller, ordering us some applesauce as we sit here and talk about this, and Coach Nathan West, who came back as well. There's no mustaches this time. Brandon Peters got rid of his, so Brad has the beard instead.
It's true. My mustache November is over, unfortunately.
Is it because Brandon Peters got rid of his? He heard I was going to swift kick him in the nuts and knew to get rid of it.
I mean, I think he got a swift kick in the nuts yesterday, so no need to beat that horse.
Sorry, I was laughing at myself. I'm pretty funny.
Shut up.
All right, sports topics. Whoops. Sports topics.
Yeah, this is our
Jim Harbaugh needs 5 miles on. Auburn hates you. Come to Illinois.
Yeah, so
there we go.
This is our Illini recap, but we talk everything sports before we get to Illinois because Illinois football is awful.
Yeah, that's a
but Illinois basketball, even though they lost, is pretty good. But sports topics. So yeah, I saw a tweet this morning that said Jim Harbaugh is going to get an extension at Michigan. Stay tuned. It's not confirmed yet. Why would Michigan do this? Who knows? Is this his last year of his contract, I think, too? Or is it next year?
I thought it was next year because I thought they still had some money on the table.
Yeah, that's just it. So, like, they very rarely ever let a coach go to their final year because you're not going to be able to recruit anybody.
Right. So I think he's got maybe one more. And why you would want him there, I have no clue. They have unbelievable facilities. They can bring somebody in. They're Michigan. It isn't like in Illinois. They are Michigan. You get somebody in there that can compete with Ohio State and maybe win one game in the first 5 years of their contract, and you've got something. Because Michigan's facilities are absolutely unbelievable. You play in front of 108,000 people. There's only one other school in the Big Ten you can say that.
Well, okay. So if you're Jim Harbaugh, you were brought in there to like bring Michigan back to bully ball, like we run the football, have a decent quarterback all the time, and in 5 years, I don't think have they had one quarterback in that time where it's like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, Brandon Peters, he's at Illinois.
Brandon Peters, that plays for Illinois.
And then now, have you watched the show on Amazon that they have? What's it called? It's the NFL show on Amazon.
All or Nothing.
They did an All or Nothing on Michigan. I think it was 2015, and it was pretty good. But that's when they had their debacle of like playing 3 quarterbacks. But the year before that, they had like a really good season. So I wonder who that quarterback was at that time. That was when they thought they were going to go.
He wouldn't have recruited, right?
Right, but still had to coach him.
My other question is, like, how many times does it actually work out when you bring someone in to coach the college they went to? Never. I feel like it has literally never worked out.
All right, I found the tweet, so I'm going to read the tweet. Rob Parker tweeted, he said, my moles are telling me that Michigan football is going to extend Jim Harbaugh. Currently, he has 1 year left on his contract. After all the struggles this season, some thought Harbaugh would head back to NFL. Apparently, he'll stay with the Wolverines. Stay tuned.
You're going to extend him just to keep him from going to the NFL? If I'm most Michigan people who want to be competitive, I'm saying, Jim, you haven't beat Ohio State since you've been here. Like, with all due respect. Because ultimately, let's be honest here. It's kind of like, so Oakwood doesn't really have a rivalry game. Like, but to compare this to high school, you can go 1-8 at Westville, and as long as that one wins against Georgetown, you're the Saint. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to beat Ohio State at some point, and if you can't do that, then they've got to find somebody else. Like, that's just how that's got to work. Because they're not getting it done.
You would think that's how that works. But
You know what? I could totally see Gus Malzahn going to Michigan.
Oh, don't say that. We need to hold out hope, dang it. But I don't think Illinois will pay him $7 million a year.
Think about it though. Gus Malzahn is like, I'm pretty sure old boy, God damn it. Who's the name of the coach for Alabama?
Nick
Saban.
Oh,
Saban,
good Lord.
Saban,
What applesauce are you eating over there?
Saban once a month has to have a nightmare about Gus Malzahn, right?
Not this year.
Not this year, but like the stuff Gus Malzahn's been able to do, you're going to tell me he can't do that at Michigan to Ohio State?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
he
Gus
could. That's why I want him in Illinois. I want to be able to compete.
But Michigan could afford him.
Yeah, Illinois can't.
Well, and so here's my thing is, okay, so you hire a $3 million a year coach that doesn't even get you to a bowl game. To me, I'd rather pay $7 million, get 8 or 9 wins a year, and be happy. At Illinois, that is almost a utopia.
Oh, I would love for it. I just want to know where that money's coming from. I mean, maybe they could. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because then you're thinking about paying.
They would reach out to Shad Khan and Jimmy John, and that's all they would need.
Hey, Jimmy John's just started in Charleston. Let's hold back up a second.
Yeah. I would have a really hard time seeing Illinois paying 2 coaches again.
But Lovey's getting close to the end of his, right? Or is he like?
Because he's been there 5 years. It's got to be close.
I don't know.
It's got to be close because he's in year 5.
Yeah. I mean,
he had a 6-year deal. 6. Well, what the heck is going on with my hands here? There we go. 6.
But you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point. There has to be some rich boosters from Illinois. If they went to them and said, hey, we have a shot at getting Gus, we need more money, I think they'd be all on board. I think they'd be like, okay.
You know why? Because those suites would fill up that are basically empty. And 77 club from the 40-yard line to the 40-yard line would be full.
Are we taking callers?
Needs to click the mute button.
I muted him. I'm doing my moderated duties.
Yeah, we'll continue on here. Oh, he's back.
Oh, on mute.
Yeah, so I personally think that there is more money at the U of I than what any of us can fathom. It's just you've got to bring in the right guy.
Well, we're jumping ahead from our Illinois talk. We'll save that for the Illinois stuff. But
I think personally, Jim Harbaugh needs to go. I mean, you haven't beat your rival, and you've had substandard seasons for Michigan.
And let's be honest, haven't really come close to beating Ohio State.
No.
Right.
They've talked a lot of trash.
A lot of trash. And then they get punched in the face.
Well, because there was a couple years there where Michigan was good, and we all thought, okay, this could be a competitive game, and then it is for like the first quarter, and then Ohio State goes, oh, we're going to score 40 now.
Oh, yeah, we're Ohio State. We forgot about that for a second.
Like, what was the one year where they scored like 20 points in the fourth quarter or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't think Elliott was there.
An Ohio State-Michigan game that's been close.
I think it was like 2006. Henny or whatever was the quarterback at Michigan, and
that was when they.
That was the last time they won, right?
Him and Mario Manningham and all those guys.
Wasn't it Corey Hart was their running back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the quarterback?
Mike Hart.
Mike Hart. Yep.
Corey Hart. Do you wear your sunglasses at night, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had Mike Hart, who was a great college running back that never panned out anywhere else.
Was that the guy that was 5'2"?
Then they had another receiver with that team too. because I was at that Illinois-Michigan game and had to park clear down at the Fire Science Institute for that ABC night game.
Ooh.
It was cool.
I love the Illinois night games.
Oh, and then they did the jet flyover, so like you could see like the big, huge flames coming out the back. Oh, nothing better than an Illinois night game.
Was Manningham that 5'0" running back?
No, he was a wide receiver.
Played
He
for
ended
the
up with the Giants. He won a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. Good job, Brad. We're just going to overtalk one another. It's great.
That's all we do here. Very professional.
Who was Michigan's running back that was like 4'8" or 5 foot, all muscle?
We just had this conversation.
Like,
Mike
no,
Hart.
what was it? Mike Hart. Okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't listening at all.
I couldn't hear over your phone call, Brad. It distracted me.
That was different time.
That was a phone call.
Don't be telling me whose name is on the show, who writes your check for that
Will you
applesauce.
get muted? Mute.
It's true. I got to pay for this applesauce somehow.
The feds are coming in short on the check this week.
In all reality, I did just spend like $250 on applesauce. So
Is there gold flakes in that applesauce?
no, we just got a lot of guys love their applesauce.
What kind of drugs are you putting in that applesauce?
The bad kind of drugs that make you feel good.
That's right, but legal in Illinois, so Brad can do that.
I can't do that at all.
Oh yeah, because it's still a Fed job.
Yeah.
You can tell us after we're done recording. there's no proof.
Yeah, so Harbaugh needs to be gone, and if Auburn wants to get rid of Gus Malzahn, I will most definitely throw my hat in the ring for that for Illinois.
Well, they have a lot of money in him too, so I wonder.
Dude, they said like $7 million a year.
Yeah, something like that, which is crazy. And it's because, again, are they measuring him beating Alabama, or are they measuring what he does in the regular season? Like, is that why they have him?
I think that's all that matters to them.
It's the Georgetown Westville thing. You beat your rival.
Once every like 5-year contract extension, you have to beat Alabama.
Because let's be honest here, when they had that 108-yard kickoff or kick return for a touchdown, Alabama was the far better team, and Auburn just pulled it out of the hat.
Which they've done that multiple times, though.
Yeah, they've done that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Nick Saban's thorns have been Auburn, Ole Miss, and Clemson.
Yep.
That's it.
That's his only thorns.
Which is a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Like,
Besides last year when they didn't go to the college football play, like, that was the thing we were tweeting about was, what's your expectation? And I said, well, like, Alabama last year, that was unacceptable to go play Michigan in some bowl game. Like, they did not like that. Their expectation is championship.
Yeah, and it can be, though. They pull in the recruits. They have like Nick Saban's just created that. You know what I mean? And ultimately, they've had that for like the last 60 years. Like, they get coaches in there that are there for a while. You know, like the dude who I got into it with on Twitter. Like, Dabo Swinney went 6-7 his first year at Clemson. Auburn would try and like have his head on a post for 6-7. Gus Malzahn, made it to a national championship his first year?
Yep.
And they got his head on a post.
I think there's something to say there for like SEC versus ACC, though.
But then in Auburn, right down the street, you got Alabama. So they think they want to be Alabama is what it is. And they're pissed off that they're not. And they're pissed off that big brother down the road there is winning championships. You had to pay Cam Newton to come there to win a championship.
They did.
You had
They
to
didn't like that comment. They got really fired up about that.
no, and you have a freaking tree for some reason. I don't know what the tree.
Didn't somebody poison those trees?
They poisoned it.
Yeah, they did. And they got like charged with a big crime for that.
Oh yeah, no, it was like a felony.
Yeah. You are now a felon for being an anti-arborist.
And the thing is, I like Auburn too. Like I like watching them. Gus is a good coach. They do good things. But
I don't like Bo Nix. I hate Bo Nix. He's a running back, a quarterback.
Yes.
He's terrible.
Now, is he a sophomore too? He's young.
Yeah, he's a sophomore. So
and
he
it would
be there 2 more years.
Yeah.
Of watching that.
And then be a grad transfer to like Wisconsin. Now, don't get me wrong. I think, but like they said, over 10 yards, like his completion percentage is 30%. And a pass over 10 yards.
Well, so I talked about this on another podcast. The first year, I can't remember the quarterback's name for Auburn. That first year Gus was there, that was the best looking offense they had. They actually ran Gus's offense, like the buck sweeps and RPO stuff. And that's why they went to the national championship. Bo Nix is that quarterback. He's a running quarterback. They need to go back to doing that. But you bring in Chad Morris, who wants to run 2x2s, 3x1s, and pass the ball down the field. And Bo Nix can't do that.
Right. He's not.
You brought up a good point. 30% down the field. I think Peters has a better way to get the ball down the field than he does.
Yeah.
God, that's sad.
Well, because and that's the thing is he would be perfect in an Illinois offense because 3rd and 18, we're running a little out route by the back. Like we've got it made.
Or speed option. One of the two.
Yeah. Our offense is catered to a Bo Nix type person. But
our offense is catered to Isaiah Williams. Instead of starting.
Oh no!
I'm fired up about it.
Hold on to that thought.
Hold on. That's like 3 topics from now.
Well, then quit talking about it.
Get that guy a Coke.
Get him
Mormon
some
can't have
applesauce.
Coke.
He just gave away all of his applesauce.
I'll have any applesauce left.
It's all gone.
We used to have fucking apples. That's all we have left.
Did you see Clemson, Virginia Tech at halftime? It was 17-10.
Oh, wow. And what, didn't Virginia Tech come close to tying it there right before the half?
Yeah.
Or a yard short?
And then it's 45-10 was the final score.
Yeah. Well, you got to think, how long has it been since Clemson's played a game?
It's been 2 weeks, hasn't it?
No, that was last week. It had been 2 weeks.
Okay.
But still, that is like a championship football team.
Did you see the sprinkler go off too?
Like
right after the first series.
Sprinkler gate.
Go look it up. Clemson's on offense. A play just happened, so they're lining up, and all of a sudden the sprinkler goes off on the midfield, and Virginia Tech's players are dancing around it, and I'm like, this was planned. They're trying to stop them from scoring. They're turning on the fucking sprinkler.
Were they at Virginia Tech?
Yeah.
Dude, that is one place I'd love to go see a football game.
Oh, yeah.
For Inner Sandman.
It's right up there with Wisconsin. I would love to go Wisconsin.
Jump around.
I would wear all Wisconsin stuff.
Yes, I would do
just
that.
To go be part of that. I'll be
or to watch Clemson do the run down the hill. Be next to that. I think that'd be awesome.
I watched that this year. My big ass would fall down, I think. I'd be the one that trips.
That takes a lot of coordination because that's a pretty steep hill. Like, that's not even an overspeed training hill. That is like you're going to fall and roll a long time hill.
Who was it in Vermilion County that has something like that? Does Milford have something like that?
Milford did.
Yeah.
I'll never
concrete.
Dude, it freaking well, yeah. So when I was at Georgetown that first year, we played them. They had just gotten state ranked. And so, of course, they came down the grass instead of the concrete. And they had like all this smoke and everything. And then we beat them. But it was pretty cool.
I remember my sophomore year was the first year going there. And it's cool at first when you're walking on the flat part because you're all like your cleats are going at the same time. It's pretty cool. And then you get to that and you're just cussing at each other like, I'm going to fucking fall. I'm going to fucking fall. I'm like, this is planned. And then before they went to 8-man football, then you go score 40 on them. But
well, they went to 8-man football, even though they have like 43 kids in their football program now.
I didn't know 8-man football was a thing in Illinois.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like
Yeah, and now there's rumor that Hoopster wants to do that because Milford, they won here's the deal. They proclaim themselves as the state champions with only 6 teams and 8-man football in the state of Illinois. You can be a terrible 11-man team and go into 8-man and just annihilate people.
I talked to a coach
at Milford.
There's a coach on my podcast. I had they're about to go to 8-man football because they only have like 23 kids.
So in 8-man football, what do you run? 3 down linemen?
Yeah, you're just missing your tackles.
And then go out for passes. I think the center can go out for a pass.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Because you know,
Nate, NFL blitz.
Yeah.
Because you know Coach Nate Allball, right?
Yeah.
I just had him on the podcast last Friday. Was it Thursday? Because he helped start that Judah Christian program. They started their football program. He was the head coach for a year. And he coached at Milford. He's why they were okay.
Yeah.
My senior year, when we lost to them by 1 point, he was the head coach. And I told him that. And he was like, oh, my God, you guys were massive. That's all he said. He was like, Oakwood is massive all the time.
Yeah.
And they ran that play, that play where they sugar huddle, that guy, that sniffer stands up, they hike the ball really quick, hand it to him, and they run the other direction.
Hide the midget is what we called it, but I'm sure that's not politically correct.
Hide the midget? That's fine.
Hide the midget. Because literally the dude just hunkers down there, and everybody takes off one way, and then the midget just goes pew the other way. And that's the sound he makes, too.
He did that. They did that to us. He did that to us my senior year. And I'm on the sideline yelling, like, he has the fucking ball. He has the fucking ball. And, of course, like, I'm not going to say names, but Brad knows. Our big linemen, who Brad probably knows their names, weren't looking at it like, what are you talking about? I'm going to go shoot a deer or something. That's what they were thinking to themselves.
That's probably real accurate.
I'm going to block like this. Like, I'm putting my forearms and block like this.
Forearm shivers all the time.
Oh, my God.
We had a player from Georgetown that said, this is how we block before you got there, before you showed up, Coach. I was in high school. This is how we block people. I was like, oh, good Lord. Coach Sanford was like, this guy's an idiot.
Still let him play.
Still let him play. I don't know why.
This ain't the 80s. Actually, the 70s. I think that was more 70s stuff. You got these things. They're called hands. It's an amazing thing.
And then
weirdly enough, they never got called for a hold.
They also never blocked anybody.
I was going to say they averaged 10 sacks. They gave up 10 sacks a game, but by God.
Never had a holding penalty. You're never behind the sticks because of them.
I will say, Steve, do you remember that JV game we had where I got called for 10 holding penalties and a block in the back?
At least you didn't get called for the old post shot.
Brad was trying to go for the most yards in a game record any way he could.
In reverse. Two things about that game. One, Jimmy Rutledge never forgave me because he broke off for like a 90-yard touchdown run. It was the only touchdown he ever had before he moved to being a lineman. And it got called back for a holding penalty on me. And then so for the rest of the half, I would snap the ball, stand straight up with my hands in the air, and use my crotch to try to, like, block people.
I'm going to hook you to death. Come here.
Swift kick to the nuts. That's what it was. Get off. I don't know you. That's my purse.
Crazy thing is we still had a running clock at halftime.
Oh,
like, if that tells you anything about how that game went.
I remember watching that. Snap the ball, put my hands up. I'm done. It's over.
Yeah, because you were holding them, Brad. That's how they got that running clock. You were holding them with your...
You should have used the forearm shaper.
That was... I'll never forget that. And Jimmy reminds me every time I see him.
It's good to be reminded of those things.
Jimmy has a plaque up. My one touchdown and no picture because Brad just picked up Brad with his arms up.
My first non-TD.
Mm-hmm. So, Jimmy, if you're listening, You're welcome, bud.
Well, it was like my senior year. They put me in at fullback one time in practice. It's like, okay, we'll try to do this. And then we went to go play Milford, and it was such a close game we couldn't do it. And I was like, God bless it. I almost had it.
Yep.
And you're supposed to go like this. The first time I tried to take a handoff, I was like, I freaked out. I was like, nope, just give it to me. I just took it. I was like, give it to him.
Brad, do you remember when I put on the pads against you guys that last week? I was Cody Davis.
Uh-huh.
That was so much fun.
It was a pretty accurate representation of what it was like to tackle that dude.
Arlen to this day tells me the hardest he ever got hit was me coming through the A gap, and we just met head on, and he just fell backwards in it. It looked like he was in a drunken stammer going backwards. It was a good hit. It's crazy, like when you understand the game, how much better you are. Like,
well, yeah, I think that's high
versus athlete. Like,
yeah.
Because I could hardly walk the next day.
My senior year, they tried to do that same thing with me, Steve, where you line them up at fullback. And it was like a 12 option give thing. And they handed it off to me. And I remember Craig Ayers, before he got huge, was sitting on the other side of the line. And it just opened up. And there's Craig. And I just remember being like, yeah, fuck it. I just put my head down and ran his ass over. And I felt so bad. And I'm not an athletic dude. Never claimed to be. But that's the hardest I've ever hit anyone in my life. And then I remember coming back, and I'm like seeing stars because I definitely led with the crown of my helmet. And I'm looking at Craig, and Craig's like, Brad, what the fuck?
and Craig's mouth probably hardly moved. It was just like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, Brad, though? At least you got the 12 option. It was just like Steve Ball. That's all it was. It was like there was no option, just Steve Ball. There was no.
All right, everybody's going to step gap inside and drive ahead.
Yep.
Steve, you're 6'5". I just want you to jump into the people.
And the eye back behind you is going to do the bush push.
Yeah, I think it was Jay Sutton behind me. Jay Sutton's going to push you into the end zone.
Perfect.
Probably could have just picked you up.
Because, Brad, you know who tackled me in practice because of that? Ray Withers. That asshole.
Oh, what an idiot.
But he was so – if he ever listens, I need him to – he was so good, too. But
He was really good. He just –
I remember we had to put him in at offensive line for the first time because we had someone get hurt or something. So he put him at guard next to me. Every play I said what to do so the defense knew what was coming. I said, don't block him, go block him. Because we'd come up, we got the play. All right, we go to the line. Steve, what's the play? I was like, God dang it.
crap.
Okay, roll Tide.
Oh, real quick, did you guys see the new South Carolina head coach?
No.
They're going to hire Oklahoma Sooner assistant Shane Beamer to be the next South Carolina head football coach.
Beamer ball?
Beamer ball.
That's actually, I kind of like that.
And then Monken needs to go to Vanderbilt.
Should have came to Illinois.
Or Illinois.
At this point, as long as we get rid of Lovey, I'm good. You know what? We can replace him with Beckman. We can go backwards all over again. But that's for another topic, and we've only got 50 minutes to cover all of these.
Yeah. So
Roll Tide what?
Alabama
Roll
doing
Tide what?
Alabama things. Did you see the interview with Saban?
Oh, they think they have confidence to
he's like,
play with Alabama.
They think they have confidence against us? I guess we're just going to have to go ahead and it was something. I can't even remember the exact quote, but basically just put them back in their place. You know, they beat us last year. They have some confidence, and we're going to show them right where they stand or something like that. It was like, okay.
Which is weird because you never really hear him talk shit.
I found it. Don't worry.
He is a very vengeful person.
Oh, yeah.
So this is what he said. He said, LSU beat us last year. They probably have some confidence that they can play well against Alabama. So we're going to have to change the way they think when it comes to that as well.
Yes, there we go. Very Saban-ish. Just low-key FU and moved on.
I think Saban, again, he's another one of those guys that has the, like, Jordan mindset.
Yes.
That, like, I guarantee he lost to LSU last year and has thought about it every day.
Yeah. He actually was sleeping in a LSU Tiger blanket. So when he woke up every morning, he knew who he had to not only beat but embarrass. Dude, they put up 45.5.
And that was the most that's the most LSU was given up. That's the most points scored in Baton Rouge, I think they said.
And they could have scored more. You're telling me Alabama could only score 10 points in the second half? No, they could have scored 90. Their receivers are so fast. Alabama's receivers are so fast.
Here's the thing. I think in a couple years, LSU is going to be good again the way they were. The problem is you talked a bunch of trash, but you're not ready to be Alabama yet, where every year you're good.
Right.
Like, you need to know going into that game, if you win, shut up about it, because next year is going to be bad.
Well,
it's nice to know that, to beat the champ, to be the champion, you got to beat the champion, and we did that this year, and you just move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a very classy statement. Don't say 1-2 Alabama, roll Tide, FU. Probably not wise.
Now, in Coach O's defense, wasn't it a player that filmed that and released it? So in his defense, in a locker room, he should be able to say that in a locker room. Like, after the media leaves, he should be able to bring them in and say something like that. I'm not saying you should to, like, a Nick Saban, but I mean, like, whoever you play, you should be able to say that and not have it be released to the public. So in his defense, he was probably in that moment of, like, I could say this. But at the same time,
yeah, but with social media, how many NFL players' dongs have we seen because of both game celebrations?
And this is like a known problem with LSU, though, because remember after the national championship game, like, players were filming other players getting like paid money by Odell Beckham Jr.
Yes, yeah. He was like throwing the money. He was like this.
I think that's part of why, like, the players love Coach O so much, but at the same time, like, then you got to deal with this shit where it's like no one ever should have seen that.
Yeah.
But no, that's
because
what I'm
even
saying,
if it was, you're going to get paid in the NFL and they're just making a show of it, like, it can be taken the wrong way real quick.
Real fast. And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, in a locker room, I look at both sides of it. He should have been able to say something like that to get them pumped up, to be like, look, we can do this. But I think you should only say that to, like, not Alabama. Alabama and Clemson are those two teams you shouldn't even say that, cameras or not. Kind of like, let's beat them a couple times before we start saying, like, roll Tide what? Like, when Nick Saban retires, like, that's when you can say it.
That's the kind of loss, though, that, like, would destroy some programs. But I think Coach O's the kind of guy that's had such a rough career. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Get him next.
Through the fire and flames.
So, did you see the video of Coach O losing his mind and throwing his head on the ground?
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would want to play for that dude.
It was probably the biggest tirade I've ever seen on a sideline. Like, he threw the headset, then he took off the little box thing, which, by the way, why don't they have, like, they make headsets where everything's just in the headset now. Why do you need the little comm box? I don't understand that.
I think it's so people don't, so that way there's no interference. Because, like, so I, like, at Charleston, Coach Hogan told me this. It was like in 2011 or 12. I can't remember where they were playing at, but it was near a fast food restaurant. So the guys up in the box, it kept interfering with that. And so they would hear, all of a sudden you would hear, yeah, I would like 10 chicken McNuggets. And they were like, who said that? And all of a sudden you're, all right, that'll be 10:25 or whatever. And so they tried to see if they could talk, and I guess it was coming out of their thing.
Oh
too.
my gosh.
So it kept picking up. So I've heard the box like helps with
okay. Because if
interference.
you like the old headsets, now we're really going down a rabbit hole, but they would literally run cables down from the press box
Mhm.
to the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that?
I also love when you see that, like, the quarterback has to pick up like an old school corded phone to talk to the offensive coordinator.
Yes. There's
But I
no
guess,
cell phone
like,
service, I guess.
that totally makes sense. It's like a secure walkie-talkie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Nobody can like hack it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, I know because Nathan knows this, the wireless headsets, the head coach one can switch to like offense and defense. But a lot of high schools don't have just that. So I don't know why. But like I know on his, he can switch to special teams, he can switch to defense, he can switch to offense. If he has just one guy he wants to talk to, they can switch to a channel. So I know that's what they all do. Because there's some Chicago suburb schools up here that are private that can afford those fancy, those AT&T ones or those big ones.
Yeah.
High schools up here that have them. And I'm like, how do you afford that? Because those things, the wireless ones are expensive. Those ones I can't imagine.
Well, they're like $300 for like the Coach Com ones or whatever.
Yeah, and like one of those are probably $400 a piece. Like it's.
Oh my! And then they got the Bose headsets to go with them. I mean, like those things are probably $1,200. They're probably flight noise canceling headphones.
There's a suburb up here. There's a private school up here. I can't remember. I saw a picture of the head coach having one.
Oh my gosh! What I would do for a Bose headset.
But yeah, so I saw the video this morning where Coach O was throwing his headset down, and the coach tweet, he goes, all I see from this is the best GA ever. A GA runs and grabs him another one, and you could see it. He's running behind him with one ready to go.
Yeah.
He grabbed his spare one.
I think who's the better GA? The guy who picked up Coach O's headset or the guy who had to go get Lane Kiffin's clipboard out of the stands when he chucked it the other day?
The best GA ever was what was it? Red Lightning from Florida State.
He's an all-timer.
Yes. Yes.
Red
Now,
Lightning.
we've jumped down some rabbit holes here in the last 7 minutes. Here
We really
the best GAs ever.
God.
But how impressive was Alabama to score 21 quick points by just running the football? That's all they did was run the football. That O-line is massive.
Yeah. And everybody like I tweeted at a guy about, the Bears plan to get Alabama's offensive line. I'm sorry, but he's like, oh, Mustafa's okay. I don't want okay. I want ass kickers.
Mm-hmm.
Like Notre Dame has good offensive linemen, but other than Quentin Nelson, they have never had an ass kicker.
We need a guy that can pour syrup on some pancakes. Like we need.
Yes, honestly, I wish that the Bears would have had a chance to draft Quentin Nelson because I wouldn't have even blinked at that. That would have been a beautiful pick.
Here's the thing that like the Bears always get cutesy with their offensive line picks.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a D2 guy, Like they should only draft linemen from Alabama, Notre Dame, or Iowa.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing is I think people try and get cute with things, and it's like just draft winners on the offensive line because that's all they know.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting here? Oh, we're going to take Chris Williams out of Vanderbilt, who has a neck issue and doesn't even get to play his first year, but he could be really good. And then he wasn't even an offensive tackle. He ended up being a guard.
Yeah.
There's just certain things that really irritate me. And like my thing is you're taking that left tackle from Alabama. Because honestly, I think you can I don't think Trubisky's that bad with a decent line in front of him.
Decent line and some play calling. He's not too bad.
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad. I think that Matt Nagy has basically screwed up his NFL career. Like, he's going to go somewhere and he's going to be successful.
He's going to go to like the 49ers.
Yeah. And actually get coached up.
Yeah.
Or go back to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's 10:21.
Yeah, I know. Mormons mullets.
Well, real quick, I wanted to tell you, I know we were tweeting like I said Bama was big and you talked about how quick they were, but I honestly, did you see how much bigger they were than LSU?
Oh yeah.
Like they they showed Alabama's wide receivers and some I didn't know. God, they look like The Rock. Like they were massive.
Yeah.
So my quick question is, and you don't have to rant about it. The stuff they're doing for speed and all that.
Yeah.
Even though they're lifting like that, they're still going to get big, right? They're still going to grow from that type of lifting.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have some hypertrophy just from like lift. I mean, you're gonna that will. They're not lifting for the size; they're lifting for the power. But
it's just going to happen, though.
Yeah, it will happen. I mean, but they are very much about the power. And I mean, dude, what other college football team in college right now is getting more powerful every week?
From watching Alabama from the Ole Miss game till now, good Lord.
Yeah. And they're without that stud wide receiver.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they had another offensive weapon? What the hell would they even do?
This is the best overall wide receiver core, I think, that they've had. And their pass protection is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you just said the offensive lineman speed to keep up with those D linemen is what's doing it.
Yeah, because I mean, really, so they had a video, and I think I retweeted it. That right tackle that they have, that sophomore, it's like 6'7", 330, 340 pounds, standing in between two 36-inch boxes, averts, lands in a split squat position on top of the boxes. 1 foot on one box, 1 foot on the other box. What other offensive lineman in the country is doing that as a sophomore?
You know what's funny? This is an Illinois show. We've talked about everything else.
I
just need to change it again.
I really want Illinois to get on the speed-based training thing, but they just continue to do agility ladders and call it speed work.
So Florida is going to play Alabama December 19th, I think, for the SEC championship. Does Florida have a chance?
I think they have a puncher's chance.
I know Brad thinks they have a big chance.
Offensively. I don't think you're going to stop Alabama offensively, so you're going to have to score points, and I think Florida can score enough points.
That's exactly it. You have to be the offense that has the horses to keep up.
So if Alabama goes up by 10, it's over, because once they get up by 10, you're not stopping them.
No.
Yeah, because then they can just run and salt the game away.
Yeah, you've got to go strike for strike, because I mean they can either pass or run the ball and beat you. They have the option. It isn't like Florida where they just throw the ball. No, like Alabama can do everything.
That's going to be exciting. And then Clemson, Notre Dame is clinched for that ACC.
Oh, that'll be a nice game to watch. It'll be interesting to see the Lawrence factor.
Right. Mormons, Mullets. This was a really good game, but like I said last night, I was kind of hoping we would see like a 50-something to 40-something game.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for.
That's not really who Coastal Carolina is.
But I figured like BYU had a day and a half or two to really game plan for this. They BYU doesn't see an option offense besides maybe Army in them, but they don't see this pistol speed option, read option from a pistol. So I was kind of hoping for like breakaways and like it could have been 48-32. I don't care. I was just hoping for high scoring.
I think BYU was more athletically gifted, but Coastal Carolina was nastier. BYU was really nice. Because I'm going to tell you this. If they had Coastal Carolina's quarterback who had just thrown an interception and beaten the hell out of him, I'm pretty sure those defensive players would have been out there beating the hell out of BYU players. That's the most I've ever seen a team go after a quarterback. I don't even know if you guys will remember this. But look at what Illinois did to Antoine Randall L. when he was at Indiana. Antoine Randall L. played punter for Indiana. Like, he was that good of an athlete. And Illinois would have two guys who would basically do that every time Indiana had to punt.
I mean,
like, I just don't. I think BYU looks good, but they're very nice. And against a Clemson or an Alabama, they would get destroyed physically.
Well, and that was the thing. Like, what was it? Coastal got the ball first. I don't remember. I don't remember. But anyway, the first time BYU got the ball and they hand off to their running back and he ran by everybody, how much bigger he was than like their linebackers. Like, he was just as big. I'm like, okay, BYU should dominate the line of scrimmage and should just run the ball every time. And this guy should never get tackled.
There was some times where he didn't get touched until he was 4 yards downfield. It reminded me of Clemson with ETN. Because sometimes ETN doesn't get touched for 4 or 5 yards.
Here's the thing, though. Like, did BYU shoot themselves in the foot by not just running the ball?
A little bit. They really stuck to that wide zone. I would have loved to see more inside zone stuff off of that, but they just kept doing wide zone. And it's like,
I think they tried to give that quarterback his time, and he really crapped the bed.
Who was the announcers last night?
I don't know.
Okay, both of them had clearly never watched Coastal Carolina's offense. Because there were like 2 or 3 times where it's like, oh, that was a blown-up play. They did something wrong. And I was like, no, they made it look like an ISO play, and then you saw the quarterback spin and went into a speed option.
Yeah.
Like, all it is a fake.
Well, they were trying to say that was the game of the year, and I was like, it's too low scoring to be game of the year. It's not as exciting. Like, it was exciting for us college guys that watched college football and wanted to see 2 underdogs play one another and leave it all out there. But that's not game of the year.
I don't know.
It was very even. I'll say this. It was very
Notre
even.
Dame, the first round would have been a game of the year. 2 overtime.
It was even, but I don't think it was ever in doubt that Coastal was going to win. In that second half.
Yeah, they had the momentum.
Like, and their offense chewed so much clock.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a college offense do that in forever.
Well, Army does it all the time.
Well, other than a service academy or Georgia Tech.
Someone said, Coach Steve, I knew we would convert you to the option because I said this offense is sexy. And I was like, I love the pistol option stuff because you can do RPO stuff off of it, and it's the same footwork. It's the same looks. You're not teaching anything new.
But
they just played with no fear. They just didn't care what happened. They were like, no fear. We don't care.
You know, and that's why I am really hoping that Michigan cancels on Ohio State and we can have a true – because if Ohio State beats Coastal Carolina, that's a great win. You're going to be in the college football playoff. I personally – the only team they've had to play that was worth a dip was Indiana, and I would love to see that game with an extra minute.
Well, let's just go right into this because I'm rushing us now. We'll just go college football playoff now. So I said this yesterday, and you guys disagree with me. I still think no matter what happens, it needs to be Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, unless Clemson loses to Notre Dame. I think if Notre Dame loses the ACC championship, they still should be in it. They've done it with Alabama, where Alabama was a one-loss team, and they let them in.
Yeah, no, I think Notre Dame's done enough to be in no matter what happens.
Or should it be how they play? If they lose to Clemson, should it be how they lose?
Oh, if they get blown out by Clemson, yeah, they're out.
And I think you have a conversation. I still think they're in as 4, but I think you have to have the conversation.
Yeah, so let's say it's exactly like last time, where let's say Clemson wins by a field goal in 1 overtime. Does Notre Dame get in? Yeah. I think so. If they lose by 40, then it needs to be, instead of just putting them in, let's see who we could put in besides them.
It would be. See, everybody keeps saying Florida over A&M, but I'm sorry. I think A&M is more well-rounded. A&M has a way better offensive line than Florida. And if Florida gets obliterated by Alabama, which could happen, I think the A&M – dude, I watched A&M play – who did they play yesterday? Auburn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, their offensive line, they are men. A&M took over that game in the fourth quarter, and there was, no doubt about it. Their offensive line, that kid was running forever without getting touched.
And I'm not a big Jimbo Fisher fan, so I hate agreeing with stuff like that. But yeah, they look better than at the beginning of the year. They've improved a lot from the beginning of the year till now. But that's the thing. If Florida beats Alabama, I still think A&M should get in over Florida in a way.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If Florida beats Alabama somehow, then it's going to be Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Notre Dame.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, I think that I really wish that Ohio State had to play somebody else. Because let's be honest, Northwestern's not that good.
No, I feel bad for Northwestern. I really hope to God Justin Fields plays his worst game of the year.
Yeah.
And Northwestern wins.
Just real quick, because I know they're not going to be in it, but go Indiana. Go to Wisconsin without your starting quarterback and win very decisively. I know it was a low-scoring game, but unbelievable defense.
Right.
But good for them.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to bet on that game, and I stayed away from it just because I was like, okay, I can see Indiana winning just because of their coach. They're going to be well prepared. But with a backup quarterback, you never know.
Did you see that post game?
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. As a coach, that is the environment that you hope to create.
I hope, from an Illinois fan, I don't want him there, but as a coaching fan, I hope he stays there.
I'm honestly I am sliding towards being an Indiana fan.
I would love to,
but him and their strength and conditioning philosophy, it more matches my beliefs. And I think you can see that. So what I also found out this week was Ohio State also does sprint-based football stuff. Okay. So there's a reason probably Ohio State's been kicking everybody's tail too. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so pretty interesting. We can dive down that at some point in time. But yeah, no, I am a huge Tom Allen fan. And that is a guy, he's like a better Pat Fitzgerald. Pat Fitzgerald's got a lot of buy-in. And there's a guy that came from Northwestern that's had success, not amazing success, but he's done well for Northwestern, considering you got to have a 28 ACT to even get into the school.
Right. No, I think Notre Dame needs to get in no matter what. Even if they lose by 30 or 40, I think it's okay, they need to go back in. Now, they'd probably have to play Alabama at that point.
I think that would be more interesting than what you think, because I think Notre Dame could control the ball enough. It would be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Because their line is good enough, and they use those tight ends well enough. They could –
Watching them play Syracuse yesterday, Syracuse came out and played tough at first. I was impressed. I love Dino Babers. He has a very young team. That quarterback story is amazing. He had testicular cancer. He comes back and is able to play football. He has a young team. Babers, I want to go to Illinois so bad. Just because Brad's shaking his head, but wherever he goes, besides this year, he does get wins. He'll get you 6 to 8 wins.
Oh, I don't have a problem with the hire. Why would you go there?
They thought when he was at Eastern and the Beckman thing was going down, it had been talked about Babers going to Illinois. Oh, yeah. But I think Bowling Green offered more money. and Illinois was in that debacle of like get rid of Beckman and all
Well,
that. And
I mean, my cousin was talking about during the Beckman era, he was getting treatment on his hamstring, and all the GAs are shredding all of the medical documents for all the football players. He comes in at one point and he's telling them, "You guys are doing a great job. You just keep it up." Like, okay.
What a scumbag.
Yeah, he's a freaking turd, dude.
you tore your ACL, you're good.
Yeah, either you're going to play on that torn ACL, or I'm going to take away your scholarship.
Okay, I know we passed by the mullet conversation at this point, but that dude from BYU, that late game concussion.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
He was out of it. Did you see his eyes?
Yeah.
He was like, "Where the hell am I at?"
and that was just from whiplash, wasn't it? Like he fell on the ground and bang.
Yeah, they took his feet out from under him.
Well, you saw his head just wallow off.
And I think it hit twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he landed on it, flung back up, and then came back down. And
Yeah.
I want to know, is he related to the politician
Yeah, I was wondering that too. The Romney.
in Utah?
That's not a common name either.
No. I got to look it up now.
Okay, you look that up. So,
Okay, Jamie, look it up.
Football.
What were we
College
doing?
football playoff, Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State needs to beat Coastal Carolina. Moving on.
God, I don't care who I piss off. I don't think Ohio State should be there. I don't care. They shouldn't.
I don't think
like
they
Cincinnati either, but
yeah, I don't think they should either. I don't even know. I would much rather have a Florida that plays Alabama tough in an SEC championship game, because I think if they lose by a field goal in the SEC championship, there's a real big conversation there, because I think Alabama is leaps and bounds the number one team in the country. And then I think you have Clemson, who is a kryptonite that could keep it within a score, within a touchdown, maybe 2, maybe 10 points. But I think Notre Dame, if they drain the clock, could. But if they try and outscore them, no, they're not going to do anything.
if Florida loses to Alabama, I think Texas A&M should go because they're much improved. They beat Florida. They need to go. And it'd be interesting. What would happen if it was Alabama versus Clemson first round and Notre Dame versus Texas A&M?
Well, that'd be fun.
My thing with Texas A&M is they got their asses whooped earlier in the year when Alabama didn't look as good.
But it would have
to do this again.
But it would have to be that way because you can't have Clemson play Notre Dame and then the first round of playoff Clemson versus Notre Dame for the third time. It would have to be.
Honestly, that could make them the 2-3 though. If you're talking about one-loss teams, that would be the 2-3 matchup, and then Alabama would play A&M.
I think if Notre Dame loses to Clemson, it's going to put Texas A&M at the 3 and maybe put Notre Dame at the 4.
Well, Ohio State's in, as much as we don't want them in there.
Michigan,
I know.
Michigan do the right thing.
And then Coastal Carolina, anytime, anywhere, any place, and they have to go to the blue turf. And they play.
That is the most NCAA football looking thing I've ever seen.
Dude, that is where you start your career in NCAA 13, I think.
Coastal Carolina, yeah.
Yes.
Them or Texas State. It's one of those two where you start.
Yeah.
Then you end up at Notre Dame or Alabama.
Update on BYU. So they're distant relatives. But get this, his name is Gunnar Romney. And his brother's name is Baylor. Are they the whitest people on earth?
Now they need mullets. That's what needs to happen now.
If your name's Gunnar Romney and you don't have a mullet, I think you have to change your name.
Yeah, to Steve or Brad.
With some applesauce.
Yeah.
Lattes.
All right.
Illinois football sucks. They need to go. Illinois played good for a while. They looked competent at first. And then Iowa was like, oh, we're Iowa. We beat you by 60 2 years ago. Illinois has not beat Iowa football since 2008.
Makes sense.
Ron Zook needs to come back.
Yeah. Yep.
Come back and you apologize.
Lovie Smith needs to go back to the Bears and apologize, and Ron Zook needs to go back to Illinois and apologize.
Lovie Smith got fired for going 10-6 with the Bears. Like, can we not forget that? Like,
no one should ever forget that. It's not a miscarriage of justice, and that's ever happened.
We would take that now. 10-6 right now for the Bears would be fine with me.
I would take 8-8 now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Ron Zook back to the Illinois and apologize. Lovie back to the Bears.
Nah, I honestly, how many people is Lovie going to fire before we figure out that Lovie's the problem?
Did you hear? You didn't watch the game, but I had both. I had the BYU one on and then Illinois. Yeah. They were talking about Lovie, and they said, well, let's look at Lovie's career. He's been here 5 years. It showed his record and everything. Not to talk bad about Lovie. He can out-coach me any day of the week, whatever.
He forgot a lot about football that we'll not know.
But these announcers were like, Lovie has done such a great job with this program. Look at the talent he has brought in. Look at the recruits he's brought in. Look at the adjustments they've made for them to be good. And I was like, hold on a second. Time out. He came into a shit show. We all know that, and it's going to take a few years.
Yes.
But it's
I was patient. I was patient. You know what I mean? Like, because and honestly, when they hired him, I was like, okay, would have liked to have had PJ Fleck or a fiery guy that can establish some really good culture, because he's been rowing the boat since his Central Michigan days. But Lovie was, I thought, the smart hire because it instantly gives you name cred and it gives you consistency because you know he's going to be consistent. And he brought in a coaching staff that probably could have, dude, his defensive coordinator was Hardy Nickerson, all decade linebacker for the 90s for the NFL. I mean, he had instant name cred with his entire staff. I went to that first clinic, and they were all super approachable. They were super good dudes, down to earth, I thought. And then, I really liked Garrick McGee as an offensive coordinator. Like, I thought he could get it done. And then it was like, well, we're going to fire the offense. Like, Lovie, I think, has the special teams guy left from the original staff.
There's been a lot of overturn. There's been a lot of change of offense. There's been Lovie giving up play calling of defense, but then taking it back. There's been a lot of frustration. There's been injuries. There's been having the youngest team in the country. But that's the thing. You had the youngest team in the country 2 years ago. Now it's a couple years later. They should have taken this leap.
And here's the other thing with injuries. So you look at how they do things, and when you lift to be a bodybuilder and you try and play a sport that demands athleticism, you're probably going to get hurt more than others. Just throwing that out there. If you don't sprint, like there's science out there now, you need to have some max efforts 72 hours before a competition, at least 72 hours, if not 48. And if you're just in there lifting weight really, 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 really slow, like I just saw a thing, Lou Hernandez put it out. Oh, this offensive lineman squatted 500 pounds. He's a beast. But then I watched, Alabama, and it's like, hey, 40 of our players are, over 1,000 watts generated in a lift. And by the way, we went out and sprinted on Wednesday, so we can be great on Saturday. Like we're not even doing in the weight room what we need to be, because here's what's happening. The speed based is taking off, right? And then you've got this old school that is power lift, and it's an incline, but it is a very small incline. So not only are we getting out coached, but we will here in a couple years, if they don't make a change, we will be it'll be an absolute shit show all over again.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to say one positive thing about Lovie Smith. Every once in a while, you see it come together for like a brief period of time where it's like, the defense plays lovey ball.
Yep.
And there are takeaways, and it's like complimentary football, and it's everything I've ever wanted Illinois to be.
Yep.
Like, I want to keep believing it's possible for it to happen. Like, does he not know how to recruit? Sure. He hasn't done a great job. There's a lot of things that he hasn't done a great job of. But there's like still a chance there for me.
I don't think he has the Chicago connection.
Right.
He doesn't have the Chicago connection that I'd hoped for.
Kind of like what Brad Underwood is getting. Brad Underwood is getting that Chicago, Illinois, just Illinois in general connection.
Yeah.
And we don't have that for Illinois football. What if Ron Zook came in as an assistant to help recruit? Because Ron Zook can recruit. I wish that would happen.
Yeah.
I wish he would just get Ron Zook come in and hire Derek Leonard as his offensive coordinator.
Or could we just hire Gus? Or could we just hire that entire staff from Coastal Carolina?
Yes.
The entire staff?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have an amazing culture. And I want to be a part of the WWE celebrations.
And can we
Pat
talk
McAfee would show up on the middle of the Illinois field and do freaking tables. He's wrestling today. Pat McAfee's wrestling tonight.
Dude, he's actually really freaking good, by the way.
I've had to get up a couple times. Did you guys talk about how every part of Coastal Carolina's team had like a fun name? Like their offensive line was called the Mighty Mites, which is great.
But that's what I love. Like I wish they would do that in Illinois. Like
you got to do that.
They just said, you got to be good.
Like for my offensive lineman, I kind of want to make a shirt that says the Protective Agency or something and have like a picture of an offensive line. Like give them something.
Yeah,
you have to do that.
But Lovie Smith is not that guy to do that kind of stuff.
No, not at all.
If you want that, you've got to hire somebody different.
No, like on the Illinois game, there was a pass interference call that they missed. The Iowa defender just pushed Illinois' guy down and they didn't call it. Lovie is standing right there and all he does is puts his hand up. If that was Coastal Carolina's head coach or
did you watch Tom Allen yesterday when they missed a pass interference call?
Yeah, or Tom Allen. They would go up and defend that player.
No, it was his quarterback. His quarterback got leveled. And freaking Tom Allen went off. Now, it was a clean hit, but he was still protecting that kid who was this is his second game starting or whatever.
Right. But yeah, they need to go. They need to get recruits. They need to hire. Spend the money and get Gus. Spend the money and get Clemson's OC. Go get Coastal Carolina's entire staff. Get Monken. I don't care. A culture guy to come in. Because Monken's going to adapt the offense to almost Coastal Carolina's. I guarantee he shows up in the Big Ten. You're going to see Coastal Carolina offense with Monken.
And I personally think you've got to have somebody that's fun. Because now Illinois is not just recruiting against Indiana's now in the pot for recruiting. Look at how that team reacted after that win. Any recruit, you want to come to Indiana. This is the best coach in the country. When your kids are saying that.
All right, we got to move on because I got to hurry us up.
I have 10 minutes before I got to go serve applesauce.
That you don't have. So it's actually going to be some plant-based alternative.
Soy byproduct.
Soy sauce.
Hey, what's up?
See, I put on Facebook too, so now you get more.
Oh, fancy. Okay, so we're talking Illinois basketball.
Yeah, I have like 3 minutes. This has to be under 3 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. Brad, you get a minute.
My biggest thing, Illinois looked slow for the first time against Baylor. Adam Miller is fearless. I think he might just be my new favorite player. He didn't have a great game, but that dude never backed down during that game. And last thing I'll say is Baylor looks like the best possible version of a Shaka Smart team. Like no one's that tall, but everyone's super athletic and everything switches on defense. That defense was horrifying. Like scary to watch it. I think if I had to dribble up the court, I would just give him the ball and shit my pants.
Or shit your pants and then give him the ball.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
I gotta go change my drawers. Can you hold on to this?
I'll be right back.
So here's my take because it's Steve's show, so we'll let him go last. He'll back clean up. But I think personally, what you saw in Adam Miller, I saw in Curbelo. Curbelo was taking that ball to the paint fearlessly and trying to make things happen. You could tell it was our first big game that we've played in where we've had big expectations. Because last year we were kind of the dark horse, right? Like everybody, this is good, feel-good story. Illinois is coming back. This was the first time we had expectations on our shoulders. To beat a Baylor we are right now, and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it as a bad way. Illinois is the inferior team to Baylor just because Baylor had a lot of success last year. They had those expectations. To beat a team like that when you are a lesser team, that's the easier way to put it. You have to do the little things. When you look at our defensive rebounding in the first half, great. We did great. But as soon as you look at the scoring line, as soon as Baylor started getting offensive rebounds, that's when that game stretched to 12 points or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not going to close a 12-point gap on a Baylor when they play that kind of defense.
I will say I got one more thing. I think something to watch out for the rest of the year. I don't think Brad Underwood knows how to defend a pick and roll. Never has. Even I watched him when he was at Oklahoma State. Same exact problem. And that's he had Marcus Smart, who's an excellent defensive guard there.
Yeah.
And they still couldn't defend a pick and roll.
Yeah.
And Baylor hammered us on that.
Yeah. Good for Georgie to show up in the first half, though, because without him, he has those games, and then he has games where it's like, what the hell, Georgie? And he's got like 4 fouls, and you're like, what happened? Like, What are you doing? And it's like stupid fouls. Like he just shoves the guy in the back in the post, and then he gets called for the foul. So good for Georgie stepping up. That was nice. But
did they just not call over the back fouls on Baylor?
Well, you got to box out first. We have to actually box someone out to get that.
DeMonte Williams had a dude boxed out completely, and he just called back.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird because I've sat close enough at some of those college games, and like if it's an over the back out of bounds situation, if it goes off the inside player's hand, but the other guy was over the back, they'll just give the ball to the team who had position because the foul is going to give them the ball anyways.
Yeah, but it's a foul.
Right, but I've heard that justification. I've been on that court. Like
there's a reason you only have 5 of them.
Yeah, but that is the conversation I have heard a Big Ten referee have a conversation with, and I think it was with Underwood, because there was one time where I lucked out and got I got on Craigslist, which is scary, and picked up a $12 ticket and literally sat on the front row by myself of an Illinois basketball game.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Steve, we've talked into your time.
Yeah, I'm going to have to wrap it up and go. So I think this is a good loss to have, actually, because now it's like, okay, this is what it takes. This is what we can see. We got to play Duke. I think they can beat Duke. I think we can. Duke's not as good as everyone thinks they are from watching them against Michigan State, right? Yeah. So, all right. Well, I got to wrap this up and go. We do have things to do in a pandemic. Yeah, things to do.
We could go for hours. Yes.
I would say we could talk. I feel like the juiciest part of this conversation, Illinois basketball, we just started, and now we all have to go.
Don't worry. We'll come back tonight. I'll open it up again tonight. I'll just open it and see if you guys show up.
I got to work until 7:30.
Well,
I'm
perfect.
available.
7:45. We'll see you, Brad.
I work from home now, so we're good.
Must be nice.
We actually go back to school tomorrow.
Oh, he literally left.
He did. He said, F you both.
All right,
Anyways,
guys. Well,
Always been fun.
Yep. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. See you guys next time. Goodbye.